Yo, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching the Simple Black Theory Podcast, episode 1. We think the white boys did it. Guys, first of all, before we get into the topic, I want to thank you guys for taking your time to actually listen or even watch the Simple Black Theory Podcast. We hit over 1.1 million followers throughout all platforms. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We are making a Substack where we're going to be working on these things because the writing is very important to me as well. But thank you guys so much for 1.1 million followers. But to be honest, like, it doesn't mean much when I don't do active things on the ground, and that's what we've been focused on. A few things before I mentioned what we've been doing on the ground. Guys, I'm getting married. Yes, it's really exciting to say that. I proposed to my fiance. She said yes. Fiance. I said that right. She said yes. I'm really excited for this new journey that her and I is gonna go into. She's been someone special in my heart. She's been with me through thick and thin. She's been more than a partner. She's been a best friend. She's been an ally with multiple things that I've been up against, and she really means a lot to me, guys. So first of all, a round of applause for me getting married. You know what I'm saying? I also got a Steam Deck, if you don't know, so I'm about to use these sounds. So that's one thing I do want to say. But other than that we've actually been doing a lot. We actually signed up to volunteer at a facility for summer camp. We've actually been doing food drives. We actually been making food and passing it to people. We're doing a lot of time and effort going out there and protest. And if you guys follow me, you've probably seen this. And speaking of following, guys, make sure you hit me up on all platforms. I'm mainly on Instagram and TikTok, as you can see, and now I'm on YouTube. But you can follow me on all my platforms at Simple Black Theory. And if you do like this podcast and want to support this podcast, you can also follow this podcast at SimpleBlackTheorypod. So again, guys, you can do all those things. It's very, very important. And if you're watching this, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I don't know if I'm doing Spotify because you're not listening to this on Spotify. I'm not putting it on Spotify. I'm sorry. My significant other was really telling me not to do it because of the ICE ads, and she's right. I just can't do it. So we won't be on Spotify, but if you guys know places where we can put this podcast so you can listen to it, let me know, guys. It really means a lot. But and if you actually have any comments, questions, or concerns about this podcast, if you have any questions you want me to answer on here, you can hit me up on SimpleBlackTheoryPod@gmail.com, or is it Simple Black Theory Podcast? It's going to be down here, SimpleBlackTheoryPodcast@gmail.com. You can hit me up there, ask any questions, comments, concerns, and then we'll hit you up about it if it's necessary. You feel me? But today's episode is actually really important. Today we're actually going to be talking about Nolan Wells. And if you're surprised about the title, it's titled, "We Think the White Boys Did It." And the title sounds crazy, but I think this episode is going to mean a lot. So I hope you guys stick around and watch, because it's going to be a great episode. Let's get it.
It's like one with the earth. I've been dragged to the dirt. She say words couldn't have words. Put me in first. I'm still the first. I say money don't really make the world go around. Money don't really make the world go around.
All right, guys. So if you don't know, July 4th, 2026, an 18-year-old Black college student that's known as Nolan Wells went missing after celebrating America's 250th birthday. You know, it's our 250th birthday. We're celebrating the Declaration of Independence. 250 years of this, right? He's celebrating in Horn Island in Mississippi. And then by 3 p.m., his friends go home and he never goes home. He goes missing. A few days later, they end up finding him. Unfortunately, he was not alive. And the Black community is pissed. To be honest, and I'm going to explain to you why we're pissed, and you're going to have a better understanding why. And obviously I'm talking to the Black community as well, so I don't have to explain to you why you're pissed, but I actually want to put our pain into words, if this makes sense. So see, what we need to understand is that when we talk about this, when we talk about what happened to Nolan Wells, This is a predicament that's not new to the Black community. In fact, this has happened several times. If you go on TikTok, there is this TikTok video of this black teen, this black high schooler, I believe. He was stuck in the middle of the water. Like, he was in the water, he cannot swim back to the place that he's more comfortable with, right? His white friends was in the other side, and they were telling him, like, yo, just swim, doing monkey sounds, insulting the hell out this dude, which is weird. Like, I don't know how you call these people your friends, but obviously sometimes you don't know your true friends until that incident happens. And unfortunately, we may have to see that with Nolan Wells in this case, and I hope not. I just don't know how I feel about this situation, but as I'm saying, so he is stuck in the middle of the water, and it wasn't until a family that's, I guess, paddleboarding around saw him, brought him to this paddle, and paddled him back to shore. His friends left him there talking about, you can swim, when he kept telling his friends he cannot swim. Guys, ding, 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 red flag. So I do feel bad for that black teen. He did say that he's never hanging out with those dudes, and it makes sense why. But this is just one example of why Nolan Wells is so important. Because if you're with your white friends and they end up leaving you in a situation where you end up dead, we have to ask questions now. This has become a dangerous point that we have to talk about. But when we talk about that black teen that was stuck in the middle of the water, that's the best case scenario in a bad case scenario. But when we go into a deeper problem that we talk about, and sorry guys, I'm trying to read my notes as I get into this, because there's just a lot to say. But when we get into deeper about this, there was an incident that happened in 2018 with a 40-year-old black mother of 5, right? She was a mother of 5, a black woman known as Tamla Horsford. Sorry guys, usually I record my videos beforehand so I can practice these words, so me doing it live, I'm kind of nervous. But this is an unfortunate thing. She was actually at an adult slumber party, and the next morning she was found outside face down, not alive anymore, right? And we ask her, and she was with straight white friends. Again, so the first incident I was talking about how this black teen was stuck in the water with white friends that didn't want to help him. And then in 2018, we're talking about this black woman who was at an adult slumber party with her white friends, and then she ends up not alive. Now, they ruled her death as an accidental death. Now, I'm not saying that if you have white friends, you're going to end up dead. No. I am not saying that. Like, I get a lot of hate online, and then people like to twist my words. What I am saying is black people start to question what's happening to black people in a system that does not care about black people, when black bodies are not as important as white bodies. And we're going to understand this as I go through this. I hope I'm making sense to most of these people. So we have to understand that the reason why I say this is because historically, again, black people are killed, and when we are killed, many times it goes unsolved. And when I talked about this, I'm talking about lynching, right? We know that lynching was big during the 1800s and I believe in the mid 1900s too. We had the lynching era where black people were being lynched, multiple black people was being lynched. And this is a sad thing, guys, that we're talking about. But what we need to understand when we're talking about this is that in most cases, when we talked about black people being lynched, what was happening? It was either going unsolved or, hear what I'm saying? It's either going unsolved or is ruled or suicide. Now, there's evidence. There's evidence of lynchings that happened like all the way to the 1930s of them ruling lynchings as suicides. Now, peep what I'm telling you guys. I'm not telling you that let's continue because you can have a better understanding of what I'm saying. So it makes plenty of sense on why the black community are skeptical when the news comes out about black individuals that was found hanging, right? So this is why we start to question things, because in our history, when black people were lynched, it went unsolved or it was ruled a suicide. So then when we start hearing black people hanging, we start to question, is it really suicide? Because we're seeing that. We've seen it with Trey Weed. We seen it currently, and I don't want to botch these names. Like I be practicing. Gerard Jackson, right? He was a 28-year-old black man that was found hanging in the forest after the Electric Forest Festival. And the problem with this is, right, the reason why I'm saying that like our bodies are not being as worthy as white bodies in America is because if you Google this story, you only see 5 news stories. If you Google his name and you go to news, you will only find 5 news stories. Is that not fucking crazy? When you go to Tonya Miller, right? A black woman that died in Miami during vacation. They ruled it a suicide. You can only find 8 news reports on Google. Go on Google, type in her name, click on news, and tell me how many do you find. Then we go to a 16-year-old Juliana Nazita. Sorry, and I feel so bad. I usually learn these names over times. That's why I get to pre-record. This is my first time doing this, whatever. But I'm getting a little emotional when I talk about this. A 16-year-old Juliana Nazita found hanging on the property of a church. Ruled a suicide. She only have less than 12 news reports. Even Kyle Bazinga or a Bazinga, he has about 3 pages worth of his story. And if you don't know, he was a black man that went to the forest, and unfortunately they ruled it a suicide. He was found hung in the forest. So look, I'm not saying that these events aren't considered what's what I'm looking for? Suicides. I'm not saying that they're not suicides. Some of them can be, some of them may not be. I'm not going to tell you which one isn't and is. What I am going to tell you is why black people are going to be skeptical. Because not only have historically we've seen lynchings seen as suicides or unknown events, but we're not even seeing these stories being brought to life. People are barely talking about it. In fact, there's more news story about the Today host mom being missing than it is about the 16-year-old being hung. Is that not crazy to you? And the lack of news coverage, the black community starts to question what's happening here. Why aren't we talking about this? This is very important. But again, the reason why I'm not going to say, oh, it's not suicide or it's not homicide is because we know that hanging and suffocation is the second most common method of suicide. Hanging and suffocation. Statistically, they do say that white people committed the most. Suicide, and no matter what it is, the top 3 is firearm, hanging, suffocation, and poison. And since it's number 2, it's not far-fetched. And again, and the thing is, black people cannot fathom why would a black person hang themselves. And I think black people need to stop thinking about it in your perspective. Because black people are not a monolith, right? We're talking about mental health here. We don't know what they're going through. Again, I am not saying that all of these hangings are suicidal or homicidal. What I am saying that if some of these are considered suicide and they are suicide, we cannot start to question why they did it. We have to do better in making sure that this doesn't happen again. You get what I'm saying? I think that's the important part when we talk about these things. But the lack of coverage is part of the reason why black people are skeptical when a black person like Nolan Wells go missing with white friends and end up dead. It's because history has traumatized us. And when we talk about this, we also have to understand that the well-being of black people for America is not important to them. We've been mistreated by the justice system, which is another reason why when we talk about black people going missing, black people being hung, black people are found dead after hanging with white friends, we start to question things because the judicial system is terrible. In fact, can we get a boo on the judicial system? Because it's terrible. And there's numerous examples. When 2012, when Trayvon Martin went to get Skittles in a watermelon, Arizona, what happened to him? He was stalked by George Zimmerman and killed. George Zimmerman gets to walk off. Then we go to Cyrus Belton, who was killed by Rick Chow after leaving the store with nothing, right? Not guilty, both of these individuals. So when we talk about the judicial system and we talk about these black victims in these weird situations, again, how do you find someone being hanged during vacation and you just automatically ruled it suicide? Again, how does a black woman found outside face down, not alive, during an adult slumber party and no one knows what's going on? These are things we have to question. Because when it comes to hanging specifically, hear what I'm saying. When it comes to hanging specifically, we have to trust the police officers when it comes to investigation. And that's the problem that we have. Trusting the fucking police in trying to understand if this was a suicide or a homicide, the same people that was actually a part of some of these lynchings. The police have a long history of lynching black people. Now, the same people that was a part of lynching black people are going to investigate these lynchings or suicides and determine what it was. This is why we start to question some of these events for black people. Because we have to put the trust on a system that don't earn our trust. So when we talk about Nolan Wells being missing after hanging out with his white friends and why black people feel some type of way, it's because the system in itself made us this way. The system do not treat black people equal, even when we hang out with our white friends. W.E.B. Du Bois mentions this idea called double consciousness, right? You have this black veil over your head. This veil is basically saying that you live two lives. The veil is basically what protects your second life or your real life, right? So the two lives, the first life is the life that you have to show to the world, what the world accepts. And the world accepts whatever is closest to whiteness, right? So if you're close to whiteness, you're going to be more acclimated to the world, not acclimated to the world, you're going to be more accepted to the world. But then when you remove that veil, you have the real true black person, the black person that cannot hide themselves when they're around real black people. And because we have to live in this veil, it's dangerous. And the reason why we live in this veil is because, and I'm hoping I'm making sense when I say this, is because black people cannot determine what it means to be black. It's white people. White people determine what it means to be black here in America. And because of that, we have to live on eggshells. This is why police officers are so dangerous to black people, because the police determines what type of black person you are. If a white police officer don't like black people, he's not going to like you. He has to like you for you to be protected. In fact, and when you have an interaction with the police officer, it is up to the police officer to determine if you leave alive or not. And that's what's crazy. Despite what you do, you can lose your life if the police officer is automatically afraid of black people. So what I'm trying to say is, when you have a system, when a black person have a weird, untimely death, and then you have a system that has investigated and they have a history of doing botched jobs on purpose, you start to question if what's happening, it's real. So when we get the autopsy report of Nolan Wells and black people are skeptical, it's not because of paranoia. It's because of memory. It's because of what happened to Breonna Taylor. What happened to her? She was killed because of terrible policing. So every time this situation happens, we're not just focusing, and this is why the title is, we think it's the white boys. Because history makes it too hard for us to give these people the benefit of the doubt. They can be great people. I'm not sitting here and saying that they did it. I'm not sitting here and saying that it's their fault. They're terrible friends. That's a fact. That is a fucking fact. You cannot, matter of fact, boom, boom, boom. Terrible niggas. Nolan Wells should have been alive. But Nolan Wells is literally a story that we've heard over and over and over. And we're tired of hearing it. Sorry, guys. I got emotional. I went a little off script. But, wow. Again, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. I know I feel like I'm ending this abruptly. This is the first episode. The ending is going to be a little better. First of all, there's a whole bunch of people I do want to thank. I want to thank my research team. I want to thank my graphic designers, my editors. Again, this is my first episode, so I'm kind of like, ooh. So all the names are going to be here. I'm going to do better with this. Again, this is the first episode, and it really does mean a lot that we get to talk about this situation and why Black people are skeptical on what happened to Nolan Wells, because this is weird and this has to be talked about. Other than that, guys, if you enjoyed watching this, make sure that subscribe button. Also, new episodes every Friday. This episode might have been dropped before Friday. This was an important episode. So, hey, you know what? This is not episode 1. We're gonna call it. No, this is episode 1. Fuck that. This is episode 1. Thank you guys again for watching. Drink water. Be careful. And for my Black people, stay Black. Peace.